Everybody can hear me? Yes? Okay. All right, we're gonna begin, and I'm gonna have Pastor Flora come up to do our opening little devotion, opening prayer, and then we'll get started.
This devotion is a little bit different than I normally would do. It's what I call a light-hearted devotion. When I was a girl, we had pre-air conditioning features in our car called wings. They were little vertical windows that directed outside air into the car. Do you remember them? Okay. Open the wing and air would hit the glass and fly into the car and keep you cool if you were in the passenger or the driver's seat. The downside was that the wing also directed anything that was flying in the air into the car. One Sunday, a bee hit the wing, was jettisoned into the car, and got caught in my sweater. I began screaming. I'm particularly very allergic to bees and wasps. A bee! Oh, Mom, it's a bee! I'm gonna die. Pipe down, my sympathetic mom shouted. If you don't bother the bee won't bother you. I didn't know what bothered a bee. What if the bee didn't want to go to church with us? Certainly any bee that just hit a piece of glass at 60 miles an hour would be bothered already. The what-ifs of life often paralyze us. What if the pandemic surges this summer? What if I lose my job? Here's what the Bible says about this kind of worry. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And again from Matthew chapter 6, God gives the best antidote to worry. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Now, if you're wondering what happened to the bee, it landed on the window of the passenger side, and I killed it with my Bible.
I love that. Okay, so we're going to do, alrighty then. Yeah, exactly. First of all, good afternoon to everyone. I'm Lisa Pereira, the council president. And it's so nice to see people in person. We also want to greet those who are, sure everybody's watching on Facebook who couldn't be here in person. We thank you for your attention, and we now officially call the meeting to order. First, a special thank you to Derek Lundquist and Thrivent for providing the coffee hour refreshments for both services today. Thank you. And for this meeting, it was actually really nice, a beautiful day to stand out there and have some coffee. Now, just a quick review for the meeting format, a review of meeting ground rules. Russ Bliss is our parliamentarian for the meeting. Thank you, Russ. And he will help to keep us on track. He uses the Roberts Rules as the guidelines for the meeting. All members in good standing should sign in at the table, and they are eligible to vote. And voting members are confirmed members. Such confirmed members are during the current or preceding calendar year shall have communed in this congregation and shall have made a contribution of record to this congregation. Members of this congregation who have satisfied these basic standards shall have the privilege of voice and vote at every regular and special meeting of the congregation. So when the floor is open for discussion, please wait to be recognized by the president. That be made. We will have a microphone brought over to you. Please use the microphone and state your name. According to Robert's Rules, typically each person who requests to speak is given a time limit of about 3 minutes to talk. Once you finish your point, you are not able to speak again until all other people who want to talk about that issue are heard. We really have not followed these rules to quite a T, but may have to resort to them if we need to for this meeting. Our voting will take place by a show of hands. If there is not a clear decision by a show of hands, we may need to do a paper ballot. All right, we begin the business part of this meeting. If everybody wants to, I think there's plenty of these booklets you can follow along. We are going to start with the Secretary's report from our last annual meeting on January 26, 2020. As I told Pastor, it seems about like 5 years ago that we had a meeting on January 26, 2020. So we need if anybody had a chance to look through them, if anybody has any questions for that, we need a motion to accept the Secretary's report from the January 26, 2020 annual meeting. All right. Seconded.
Okay, so that was Owen Young.
Okay, for
Motion.
Okay, seconded by Jeff.
Jeff 80.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? So moved.
Lisa, if I could just interject for one moment. We had decided that we are not doing a sign-in, so I'm eyeballing everyone just for attendance for that. Also, there's a question about quorum of how many we need to conduct business. I should stand, I'm sorry. The trick is, just as we were welcoming, and that's why my devices are out here, we have our live feed on Facebook and YouTube right now. For those who are joining us from home, I have the comments section up here, so if you have any questions that you'd like to forward, just put it in the chat, and then I'll read it aloud for you. The challenge, though, is, as Lisa had said, your active membership is based on your worship attendance and giving for the past year. We have hundreds of people who have been worshiping with us online only, but there's no way to record that. So the quorum number that we were starting with was that we had to have 36. However, that was based on 2019 numbers. So Russ and I had a discussion right before the meeting. We feel very comfortable that we're in good order with whatever we got today. So whatever vote we take will be official, will be fine. I had a conversation with our Synod Secretary about a month ago, talking about annual meetings and things like that. And he's not only the Synod Secretary and a pastor, but he's also a lawyer. And he said to me, look, your Constitution was not written with a global pandemic in mind. So do what is going to be best for your congregation, and you're going to be just fine. So we're not doing any legal actions. You know, we're not purchasing property or issuing a call or going into any contracts or anything that we would need official statement of like state business done. So we're going to be just fine with our gathering.
Sounds good. All right. So we're now moving on to the pastor's report since you were just here. Either pastor.
I'll start. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. Hey, everyone. I've already been talking to you for 10 minutes, but well, I am very glad that I decided to take that elective in seminary on how to minister in a global pandemic. That came in handy for us. You know, as you've experienced in your own personal life, this last year has been unlike any other. And not surprisingly, here at the church, we needed to totally reinvent ourselves. I am very grateful for all of those who stuck with us through this time. The new learning and extra work that was required to find new ways and digital ways to reach out was well worth it for us. As you know, we never missed a Sunday of worship. We went directly to online worship, continued with, in my report, you see kind of an exhaustive list of all the things that continued. Rather than going through all that, I will just say that basically every ministry that we had in 2019 continued on in some form in 2020. Plus, in 2020, we saw the advent of new outreach opportunities. The reality is, in the beginning days of the pandemic, our worship attendance, which was in 2019 averaging about 350, skyrocketed over 1,000 every Sunday. We had so many people that were joining us from home on the island and from home all around the country. And the wonderful thing is, the great opportunity that we have now is, even as we're welcoming people back in the sanctuary, we still have those friends that are joining us online. Some of them grew up here and they moved away. I know Patty's sister gets to meet her from Florida in worship every Sunday. We have Debbie Fritzen, who some may remember, that now lives in Arizona, that now joins us. We have people in D.C., in Texas. We have, at some Sundays, we have people who are in other countries that are joining us for worship. And I'm trying to take a silver lining out of a year of a lot of dark clouds, but the silver lining there is we knew that this was an opportunity for years, and we knew it was something we really needed to do for years. But we were allowing ourselves to kind of kick it down the road further and further until we were forced to do it. And now that we've kind of broken that seal and we've set up all the technology that we needed, now we have this opportunity to keep it going. When we filed our annual report for the ELCA, our worship numbers are actually a little higher for 2020 now than they were for 2019, based on the online participation. Our daily devotions, which are now weekly devotions, Jesus Calling specifically, we have faithful people who are tuning into each and every one of those devotions that will never set foot in this building. We have people who are sending us donations online and in the mail that will never be in Deer Park. And that's exciting for us. I mean, that's a real gift. And when we especially consider the fact that, very sadly, the reality is there's a large percentage of congregations in our area and in the country that are never going to open their doors again. That when this pandemic hit, they did not have the resources to be able to continue ministry. And our synod is really in crisis of the number of congregations that are now in historic, cataclysmic downturn right now. We are, again, so fortunate that, number one, we had faithful members who, even though they weren't coming in the building, they continued to financially support us. As Rich will show when we get to our treasurer's report, we are, quite frankly, in a better financial position today than we were a year ago or 18 months ago, before the pandemic had hit. That's because of your support, largely, and it's also because of some really good financial management by Rich and Chrissy and all of our finance and stewardship team. The third part that really was important in that is that we were very aggressive in pursuing outside funding from the government specifically. PPP loans were designed for exactly a situation like ours, to be able to keep employees on and enable small businesses, which from a governmental standpoint, that's what we are as a small business, to keep them afloat in this time. So we were benefiting, and Rich will give the exact numbers, we got about $170,000 over this past year in government grant funding, which hugely impacted where we are and puts us in a really good position as we're looking forward to 2021. Last thing I want to mention, well, two more things I want to mention before I yield the mic. People course, have been asking for a year now, when do we get back to normal? When do we get back to normal? And I can finally say we're on our way there now, and we're going to see visible signs of that return each and every Sunday. If you've been worshiping with us, you've noticed that gradually we have one more element that comes in every week as we're gradually building back up. We open up a few more pews, working our way backwards to work our way in. Our in-person attendance numbers are climbing by a few people each week. We have a few new faces that we haven't seen in a year that are coming back. This Sunday, at each of our services, we actually had two actually at the 10:30, first-time visitors. Remember that streak of like 4 years we had going? It took a global pandemic to stop that streak of new visitors, and we're going to pick it right up where we left off. All right, the last thing I do want to say is, and just an addendum on that one part. So we're going to gradually be building things back. My goal is that Rally Day, that Sunday in September, that's our kickoff, is going to have a whole new meaning for us because we are going to do it up because it's 2 years in the waiting for us to be able to do that. So my vision is that September Rally Day barbecue is going to hold back all the stops. You know, we are going to have a full celebration of a full return to ministry there. Last but not least, and very importantly, I think it's really important to give thanks to our staff who continued on throughout this year without skipping a beat, many of which had to learn new ways of doing their job and their ministry. Many ways were pulled out of their comfort zone and out of their natural skill set, but put in many, many hours of work to be able to continue that ministry on. That also goes to our council that has done an amazing job of keeping a steady hand when it would have been easy to fall apart and to panic, and they didn't. Especially this executive committee that, quite frankly, does so much more than anyone realizes. You know, these are people who are immediately responding to texts in the middle of the night if we're sending them, immediately responding to emails and phone calls. I mean, it's like having a doctor on call for you. They're there for anything. And also a thank you to volunteers who have stepped up. And there have been a number of volunteers that have either continued to serve or began serving in new ways. And it's dangerous ever to name names because you don't want to leave anyone out. But I do want to raise up just two names in particular. One who's present is Jeff Adey, who's not going to be happy that I just said his name at all. Jeff volunteered last year to cover all of our landscaping. That alone saved us $5,000 to $6,000 right off the bat. Plus, quite frankly, he did a better job than anybody we've ever paid to do it. And we really do thank you, Jeff. And I know he's not happy that I raised him up because that's not why he did it. Every time I thank him, he says it's to the glory of God, and God bless him for that. The other name that I do want to raise up is Tom Tressel, who's not here today. He's traveling. But I'm sure many of you don't realize Tom is the one who really spearheaded all of the technology that we're using now. He's the one who helped with the install. He's the one who helped train volunteers. And he's here all the time. I mean, last Sunday, we needed help for First Communion services, which went up until 4 in the afternoon. Tom stayed up there and ran the whole system himself for us. You know, it's greatly appreciated, and we definitely would not have been able to get where we are without his volunteer efforts. So, again, a big thank you to him. And always, I got to leave my favorite for last is Pastor Flora, who is just my partner in crime and is such a joy to have a partner in ministry with. She, like all of us, had to find new ways of doing ministry, and all of you have gotten multiple phone calls from her over the time. There are so many times, I can't tell you where, there's a task that we discuss in executive and we say, well, the pastors are going to handle it. We'll divide it up between us. And she'll call me the next day and say, I got it done for you, which is just incredible. We officially have called Pastor Flora as a part-time pastor, which is completely laughable. At one point, when I think our first conversation about the call here, we were discussing hours and responsibilities, and I finally said to Pastor, look, we can look at this two ways. Either we're going to hire you part-time, and then you're just going to work full-time anyway, or we can just call it full-time and that you're getting half pay. And she laughed at that, and I knew we had the right person for the job, for sure. But, I mean, really, it is such a pleasure, and it is such, quite frankly, a luxury to be able to have two pastors in a congregation. It is very needed, don't get me wrong, by saying luxury. It's not that it's superfluous, it's very much needed. But we are one of the only churches now in the Metro New York Synod that has multiple pastors now. And because of that is why we are still as stable and vibrant as we are. So again, thank you very much for all of you, for listening to me ramble for all these minutes. Does anyone have any questions from me specifically? Okay. All right, and thank you. Can I just pass the mic to Pastor Flora?
Absolutely.
All right.
Wow, how do you say thank you enough? Thank you. That was very heartfelt and made me feel really good. I'm not going to speak very long. I just have a couple of things as far as returning to normal, and that is beginning in the fall, we started to return to normal with a women's Bible study that focused on Old Testament figures. We did Joseph, then we did Sarah and Abraham, and then finally Rahab. And we're going to continue that again in the fall with other male and female figures from the Bible. We also started going back to having meetings for Forever 50. Although we weren't able to do it every week, we do it on alternative Wednesdays. And we've had a very good showing. Usually about 20 to 25 people have come, although we're used to, more like 35 people. But with COVID, we understand, the hesitancy of people to come. We've instituted a lot of events. We're ending this season with a barbecue on the 23rd. So we've been out to luncheons, we've been making crafts, we've been doing all sorts of different things. And one of the things that I'm most happy about, and you also have been part of that ministry, is we instituted the Eucharistic ministry to bring communion to the homebound. And we have several Eucharistic ministers here right in the pews this afternoon. We appreciate your volunteering. We had 12 people that volunteered, and we have 36 people that we're delivering communion to each and every week. So that's a wonderful new ministry, and we're so glad we started it. We've gotten tremendous feedback on how happy people are to receive the Lord on a Sunday or a Monday or a Tuesday or whenever it can be given. But it's a wonderful addition to our ministry. And we're looking for more volunteers, as you heard this Sunday at service. We're looking for more volunteers for reading and for worship assistance and for other volunteerisms that you can participate in. So please consider that. You've been most helpful in the past, and I know you'll be most helpful in the future. I thank all of you, and I thank God for being here at Ascension and for all the people I work with, and especially Pastor Justin, who has been most supportive of everything I do. Thank you all.
Just wanted to also just echo what the two of them said. Thank you, Pastor Justin. Thank you, Pastor Flora. I think this has just been such an incredibly tough and difficult year, and we have just been blessed to have pastors like Pastor Justin and Pastor Flora leading us through this really difficult time. So if we can just give them another round of applause for an incredible year. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Now for the very exciting part of the meeting, the Treasurer's Report for 2020, and we invite our Treasurer, Rich German, to come up and speak.
Hello? Well, for the year 2020, we wound up with a deficit of $36,000. In all my years as treasurer, I don't think I've ever been more proud of this congregation. It was a difficult year, obviously financially for many people and many organizations during the year. Granted, our contribution was down a little, but we also had many members who had tremendous financial difficulties, lost a job and that during the year. But the giving through regular contributions, we had an in-faith program that generated $28,000, and just the different ways of giving that Pastor Justin mentioned. One thing we've always tried to do over these years is to get people to give electronically more rather than the traditional check. Unfortunately, we needed COVID to get us that way, but it has really helped us financially from week to week, month to month, pay our bills. A couple of the things that negatively impacted us last year is we had almost no outside groups meeting here. While they don't pay a lot of money individually, but collectively, they usually add up to over $20,000 a year. We also had another church meeting here that was paying rent on a monthly basis. We lost them, the Haven. Our preschool, while we budgeted them for $49,000, they actually turned a profit of $13,000, which during last year I think is very, it's just amazing, especially when you consider that they had to repay what's called June prepaid tuition. They had to pay back several $1,000s that were income, but actually wound up being expense. So those things obviously negatively impacted our revenue, but the continued giving of the congregation, and of course the PPP money, kept our cash flow in a positive position. Normally in the budget, we usually do budget to redeem some of our investment earnings. We didn't have to do that last year due to the positive cash flow. On the expense side, a couple things. On the positive side, we had a budgeted commitment to the Synod, a benevolent give of $29,500. We met that budget. A thing that we started last year is we have a lot of dedicated funds, and if you know anything about accounting, your assets should equal your liabilities, and the differential was growing. So we put in a budget line last year to pay ourselves back $15,000 for the year to improve our balance sheet, improve our financial condition. We were able to do that. Oh, sorry. So we were able to do that, and while probably a year and a half or so, we had about a $90,000 deficit on the balance sheet. As of the end of the year, it's $5,000. So that's just been part of the good things that we've been able to do, thanks to fiscal financial management and the congregation giving, and that's always the bottom line of how we're able to continue. And our investment accounts, not only did we not have to redeem any earnings, they had tremendous growth last year. Well over 10% earnings on our mutual funds in particular that we have. So, and plus some of the money for the dedicated funds, we actually send that money to a money market account with Thrivent each month. So it's not just a balance sheet entry, it's real money that we have sitting outside of our checking account that in the event that we needed money, it's there. Any questions on the treasurer's report? Okay.
Thank you, Rich. Wow. Thank you. We need a motion to accept the 2020 Treasurers Report. That would be Russ over here, seconded by Madeline. Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, so moved. Okay. I hope you guys had some time to read over the various reports that were created by the chair people and council members and people taking the lead for our various ministries. As we've all said, this has been an incredibly difficult, challenging year, and everybody should be proud of what was able to be accomplished in 2020 despite those challenges. As we all know, 2020 was a year of Zoom. Many of the church committees were able to get the important work of the church done by meeting regularly on Zoom throughout 2020. I'm just going to ask the chair people of the committees who are present to stand so we can acknowledge them and thank them. The first one is the Personnel Committee, and I chair that one, so I don't have to go anywhere. But I have a great group of people who join me on that committee. It's the pastors, it's Jean Belcher, it's Rich, it's Patty Komornick, and Heidi Manzo, and I just thank everybody for their time for the Personnel Committee. Christian Smothers Group was Janet German. I don't think she's here, but we thank her. A very important group this year that met quite a bit was the Finance Committee that Rich, of course, chaired that committee and did a phenomenal job. You just heard about that. The Forever 50, thank you, Pastor Flora, that's mentioned as well. Preschool, Anne Marie has been, Atchas has been phenomenal this year, and her staff. And again, just keeping the preschool going and keeping it profitable. It is such a blessing to us that we have a preschool that was able to open and do it very safely this year, so we've been very blessed. Property, that's John Scheid. He's not here today, but again, he did tremendous work along with the many people who volunteered on that committee. Social Ministry, Kathy A.D. Thank you, Kathy. She's over there. Thank you for your work this year. Stephen Ministries, Vicki Elfers, who I don't think is here today either, but that's been a tremendous ministry that did a lot of Zoom work. I think, Pat, you're here. Pat's one of the, and also Marie, you're here, and Jeff as well. If you guys just thank you so much for your ministry this year. A lot of people needed that support, and it was great that we were able to offer that kind of thing. Stewardship, Erin, thank you very much for being a part of that. As Pastor mentioned, worship and music, Tom Tressel did a phenomenal job. Also, we have Dave Johnson in the back over there for all his work and effort in just doing a phenomenal job letting the choirs participate. And I know from my own perspective, my daughter doing the bell choir as well as string orchestra was wonderful. And then, of course, youth, children, and family ministry with Natalie Romero. So again, a very big thank you to all the council members, chair people, and the volunteers who participated this year on the various committees that kept the church going strong. So we'll just give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. All right. Now another big one, the proposed budget for 2021. Again, you're up again, Rich.
Well, the Finance Committee and the Church Council, we are presenting a balanced budget. Need I say more? But I will just a few items of note. The Synod recommended a cost of living increase of 1.9%, so that has been given to each one of our employees. There is no budget for the praise band for this year, as that is a future decision. For the most part, most of our expenses really are pretty well fixed on a monthly basis. So this budget really represents what we anticipate our actual expenses to be in a more normal year. I think on certain things like the preschool and some of our income numbers, I think we've actually taken a conservative approach with the thought that the income levels on there, there's a very good chance of them increasing as we have anticipated increased enrollment in the preschool. We've seen, during Easter season, we saw increased giving compared to last year. We would hope during Christmas season that will continue. The outside groups, we haven't had anything obviously for the first 6 months. We hope that that's going to be starting up soon, so that'll help. And we also didn't budget to redeem any investment income this year. So that's always a possibility if we do have cash flow problems. In reality, the balancing item for this year's budget is the PPP loan proceeds of $80,702, which we already received. So we know we're getting that. That's going to be, again, to balance our budget. We're utilizing the expenses that are governed under that PPP as we did the other ones, so there's no issues on forgiveness. So that being said, we have a balanced budget for 2021. Any questions?
Well, that was easy. So now we need a motion to accept the budget for 2021. Patty Kamornik. We need a seconded one. Up, David Johnson in the back. All in favor? Everybody. Any opposed? Nobody. All right, so moved. Excellent. All right, we're moving on. The election of new church council members. We have some, please see the biographies of the people that the council would like to recommend to become new council members. We have Erica Barr for our youth programming, Stephanie Holcroft for evangelism. We also have one member being asked to stay for a second 2-year term, and that's Erin Shanley for stewardship. And we have 3 people that are being nominated to serve 1-year terms on the Congregational Council for 2021. That would be Rich German, Treasurer, Rolando Sato, Latino Ministry Representative, and this is just a bit of an update, Madeline Chirac for Welcome Representative. Are there any other nominations from the floor for council members? If there are no other nominations at this time, we need a motion to close the nominations, therefore electing all of these 6 people by acclamation. Motion by, okay, we have Russ, seconded by Owen. Thank you. All in favor? So moved. Generally, this is a place for old business, but I don't believe, is there any old business that needs to be discussed? I don't believe so. All right. We are moving right along. We're moving into new business. This was announced at church today. Again, this is relating to the Synod Assembly this year. That will be taking place virtually on Friday, August 20th and Saturday, August 21st. And we currently have 1 available spot. If anybody's interested in attending that, please reach out to Pastor Justin this week. Does anyone have anything new to bring to the congregation? Okay.
Now I'll just interject that by my count, we have 29 in person attending. We have another 11 that are joining us online for a total of 40 that are attending our meeting. So even under the old quorum rules, we're good.
We're doing okay. All right, we have 5 synodical deacons whose call will be extended for 2021. They are Susan Bliss, Vicki Elfers, Natalie Romero, Bob Schneider, and Barbara Schneider. And we can do a hand vote for the deacons. So we need a motion to renew their calls. Madeline, okay. Seconded? Pat Massaro? All in favor? All right. So moved. I think we're spoiling everybody. This is a quick meeting, huh? I don't know. All right, we're moving on to the resolutions. All right, be it resolved that we express our gratitude to God for the faithful service of those who have completed their terms on our Congregational Council, and we ask God to bless them in the days ahead. Heidi Manzo, Allison McCarthy, and Samantha Blumke. We also lift up the current members of the council for all their hard work and focus in helping to keep all of our ministries working for the glory of God. Be it further resolved that we express our deepest appreciation to the current members of the church staff, who are Rich Brown, Chrissy Brooks, Vicki Elfers, David Johnson, Mary Murphy, Jerry Romero, Natalie Romero, and Vincent Savrazi. During this year, we benefited from additional staff members that we also want to express our gratitude to God for their work that they provided during 2020, and that's Pastor John Cron. Be it further resolved that we express our deepest gratitude to the staff of Ascension's Preschool, Anne-Marie Achez, Kathy Fifield, Karen Fox, Dawn Scheid, Susan Quinn, Teresa de Blasi, Carol Marks, Sonia Milankovic, Jeanette Najian, Tina Pasana, and Denise Walker. Be it further resolved that we express our thanks to God for the many volunteers who serve Ascension. They make our congregation so vital. Be it further resolved that we express our thanks to Thrivent Financial and to our many members for all the Action Team card monies that we received that provided funds for various ministries at Ascension. And lastly, finally, be it resolved that we thank God for our pastors, Pastor Justin, Pastor Flora, and Pastor Patty. All right, so we are going to, the council is going to meet to elect officers. That's going to take place immediately following this meeting. And we can go in the library lounge. And now we just need a motion to adjourn the meeting today.
We don't adjourn until after.
Okay,
Yep, you're good.
I guess I was wrong. All right, we'll run.
So we'll run over to the other side. Those who would like to remain to anxiously anticipate the announcement of the crown. And then it should only take us about 5 minutes, and then we'll be back, and then we can officially adjourn. I am going to add just one more thing from my report. Just before the pandemic hit, I had the opportunity to attend the first ever Inter-American Latino Ministry Conference. That's for pastors all the way from Canada down through the tip of Argentina and Chile. So it was amazing to get together in Bogota, Colombia. The reason I'm sharing this is, number one, it's planned to be an annual event that I will definitely be attending when it's in Peru next January for sure, and in the years to come, because it's such a great opportunity of learning and language immersion for me. The bigger reason I share that is the ELCA's Emerging Ministries Director, so he's the guy that's in charge of all new congregational ministries. He sat down with Pastor Patty and I for a long discussion at one point, And I was very surprised to hear that Ascension is the only growing Latino ministry of this model. There are other growing Latino ministries, but this is the only one that's arranged in the way that it is in the entire country. So much, and he was so impressed by that the plan was for Pastor Patty and I to be one of the speakers at the next Emerging Ministries National Conference. Now, the pandemic threw that all out of whack, but I mean, that is an amazing compliment for the ministry that we have here and the amazing ministry that Pastor Patty has literally right now over in our social hall. So hopefully, you know, as we leave this meeting today, and not yet, you have to wait 5 minutes until we get back, you leave with an incredible sense of pride for the ministry that we have here. We are so blessed, and I know I do not take that for granted at all. So go out with a smile on your face when we do leave this place, because we are blessed with an amazing church. All right, now, council members, we are going to go on the other side of the building quickly with Russ. He's going to make sure we keep everything above board. Dave had volunteered to play a concert for you while we're gone. Okay, so the year of politicking and campaigning has come to an end. I am happy to introduce you to our council president for the remainder of 2021, Lisa Pereira. Our vice president of the congregation, Jean Belcher. And our secretary of the congregation, Erica Barr.
Okay, now we can adjourn the meeting. Motion to close this meeting. Russ, thank you, Russ. Who would like to second that? Marie, Mark, thank you, Marie. All in favor? Oh, look at all those hands go up. So moved. Thank you so much, everybody. I think, is that true? Should we put that on record? It was 50 minutes. So we have something to live up to for next year. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon. Hope the weather's still nice.